Had some breaking news today. It turns out that Amanda Nunes is withdrawing from her featherweight matchup against Megan Anderson at UFC 256 for undisclosed personal reasons. You hate to see it, especially because this was kind of, in a lot of people's opinion, was here's another cap, or sorry, another feather in her cap, rather, to go out and beat one of the only featherweight contenders that the division has. She's withdrawn now. Yan versus Sterling. Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling is now elevated from co-main to main. What are your thoughts on all this?
I think it sucks, man, because obviously I'm a big fan of Amanda Nunes and her career of dominance, just knocking off everybody ever since she last lost to Kat Zingano. She's just been, unstoppable force. I mean, Valentina got close, but listen, she won those fights. I don't want to hear that. Don't want to hear that. Anyways. So we were looking at, potentially like one of the very last contenders available for her in the UFC currently. There was some other news that, has recently come about that kind of opens the pathway for another potential opponent, depending on legalities and other promotions. Of course, I'm hinting at Kayla Harrison's thing, but that's way down the road. Anyways, we were talking about, the Megan Anderson matchup. And of course, for me, this was just going to be another fight like the Felicia Spencer fight for me. I think Megan Anderson is a little bit better than Felicia Spencer. Obviously, she's a better striker, but Felicia has her in the grappling department, but neither one of those matter when you're facing Amanda Nunes, right? So it sucks that this fight's canceled because, I want to see Amanda compete. But who knows what the real reasons are, man. And I mean, she's a new mom, right? And it's COVID still. COVID cases are ramping up still in this country, breaking records. So it could be something with they don't want to, endanger the baby or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much, but there's a lot that could be happening right here. It could be an injury. We don't know. Maybe we'll find out in the coming days. But at the end of the day, it sucks for Amanda not getting able to defend her titles again. And it sucks for Megan to not be able to compete as well, because we haven't seen her since February. So, long time on the shelf. I don't know if they're going to try to find a replacement. And I hope they don't go stupid crazy and throw up an interim title out of nowhere either, because that would just be insane.
Yeah, I mean, if they did that, I wouldn't be shocked, but it would be kind of, what are you doing, right? What are we doing here if you're throwing an interim women's featherweight belt in that? And there's a name out there that for that situation where you could go Holly Holm versus Megan Anderson. There's that constant joke mill about Holly Holm gets a limited title shot. There you go. Here's someone that she's already beat, could get that featherweight shot, and then that sets up another rematch between her and Nunes. But we won't go too far down that path. This does suck. I will say I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here in terms of, this matchup didn't excite me. Just being blunt, it was one of those things where Anderson has looked better her last couple times out, but she's lost multiple times, right? For either title eliminators or just in the featherweight division. She hasn't looked like a world beater. She hasn't been undefeated. At least Spencer had, kind of like, okay, she had a crazy chin on her, was going through doing that. He had some kind of allure here. This really seemed like, hey, Nunes needs an opponent. Who do we got left? Oh, Anderson? Cool. Let's go ahead and throw her in there. And so I'm not that upset that the fight's been canceled. I feel for Megan, of course, because I feel like, you're given that opportunity and now it's taken away from you. That sucks. And I do feel for Nunes for whatever the personal reasons are. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. But as you said, we are in crazy times right now. So, again, hopefully all is well there and we get some idea of what the real reason she had to pull out was. But if she doesn't want to discuss that, that's also her right. It's just hopefully everything is okay. But that all being said, this matchup doesn't diminish the card that much to me because I thought it was going to be a slaughter. right? Like, and hopefully it wouldn't have been. Hopefully it'd be an awesome back and forth fight. But as you said, Nunes has looked amazing. The only person that has even thrown up a challenge against her was Valentina Shevchenko, which ended up being a very strategic kind of fight that was very boring and a lot of people hated. And, I scored it for Valentina. A lot of people scored it for Nunes. That's whatever. It was split decision. Either way, it was not the best fight. I would love to see them run it back now, especially after it being so long and both of them cleaning out their divisions, right? I feel like it's the last matchup that makes sense for either of them. But Yan versus Sterling as a main event makes more sense to me from a pay-per-view buy standpoint, regardless. Simply because Nunes has not generated the numbers that they'd like to see. There was a long time the UFC did not push Nunes. Once she won both belts, when she knocked out Cyborg, they started to give her a push. But since then, the reported numbers we have, which again, grain of salt, you can go, like and subscribe to this channel and then go find those videos where we talk about you need to take those with a grain of salt. But regardless, it's, she has not put up the numbers they'd love to see out of a 2-weight women's champion. So I think from a business standpoint, this kind of helps the UFC. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think Amanda would be a much bigger draw pay-per-view wise if there weren't nearly as many events at this point in 2020, right? Because she is so dominant. Like if MMA was still like a novelty sort of thing where it's like, hey, we get one event a month, and it's like, oh, that one girl who just destroys everybody's fighting. Let's watch that. Like now it's like, why can't y'all find somebody to fight her? Like, it's completely different because there's so many fights on all the time. The idea of watching a fight is boring to a lot of people, unless if it's going to be really, really competitive, or unless if that particular fighter just has like this extremely unique skill set that you're going to watch no matter what. So for Amanda, she is so dominant, and that's kind of to her detriment. And it's not her fault that she's just so many levels above all of her competition. But at the end of the day, it's going to make some people just be like, oh, she's just going to get another win. So it is what it is. It sucks. I mean, I like you said, I hoped that fight would have been, an entertaining one, a back and forth type of fight, but nothing about it says that that's how it was going to play out. I'm with you, man. I thought it was just going to be a dominance. So, from the business side of things, sure. Sterling, Yan, more competitive. Two different styles that are pretty unique. Like Aljamain has got a weird, like funky sort of style, and he's just an excellent grappler. Yan is just never stops, always forward, just relentless, no empty on his gas tank. Like his gas tank meter doesn't even have the E on there. Like his needle doesn't even go that direction, right? So that's just a much better fight in every aspect. So will it reflect in pay-per-view buys? We don't know. Obviously, we'll find out. But from the competitive standpoint, it absolutely should.
Yeah, and we may find out, right? Again, depending on sources and all that, who knows? Who knows if we'll get an accurate number on pay-per-view buys for UFC 256. But yeah, on paper, it's a much more competitive fight. I think it will probably generate more than Nunes would have, but who knows? Let us know in the comments.
I like how you expect accurate counts these days.
Oh yeah,
in our climate.
Yeah, just yep. It's it's super accurate when there's only one source that turns out to be a certain promoter of a large multi-billion promotion. Anyway, let us know in the comments. Do you think
recount of the pay-per-view buys?
Do you think Yan versus Sterling is a better headliner than Nunes versus Anderson? Which would you have preferred to see on top? Let us know, because unfortunately, don't think we're getting Nunes anytime soon, it sounds like. And I hope we don't end up with Anderson versus Holm. But let us know in the comments if you think that's going to happen too.
Anderson versus GDR. We know it better. Come on now. You know what it is over here. GDR all day. Let's go.
I don't know, man. I don't know.